Welcome to Vital Doc Talk. And today on the show, we have Dr. Marla Ranieri. Welcome to the show, Dr. Marla.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to have me. Thank you.
Awesome. So why don't we get into your background, your story? Like, number one, what motivated you, to become a doctor, going through school? And then, why'd you pick your field?
Sure. So I was a gymnast in college and had 8 orthopedic surgeries. And that really motivated me to become a doctor because I wanted to give back to the community the way that physical therapists and doctors gave back to me and allowed me to achieve my own goals and dreams. So I really ended up in the field because of the knowledge, the experience, and wanting to help others.
That's awesome. And then when you were in school, did they talk about marketing and growing the business side, or what did you mainly go through in your curriculums?
Yeah, there was a small portion of growing a practice and a little bit of marketing. It really was kind of one elective course. I don't feel like it was stressed upon, and I wish there was more. So a lot of it ended up becoming on-demand learning.
Yikes. And well, that's why we have this podcast today, right? So why don't we go into, what you faced, maybe the early challenges you faced when you first started your practice. Was there like a marketing channel that you were like, this is what's going to help me grow and finally, start my own practice?
Yeah, so I really felt for me, I had a niche, which was really important because I was able to focus on the specific type of population I wanted and really reach out and do everything around that niche to create a market where people had a need for me. And I think that's really important. So I chose, of course, gymnasts and young athletes because of my experience and my passion for them. And that created a really great way to volunteer and to be at gymnastics meets, to get the word out there, to introduce myself to coaches, and start that way.
Being a gymnast has been like my dream. Maybe it's like I don't know, the average person's dream to like dunk a basketball or something. Never really had that dream, but I've always wanted to do like a muscle up and, do a little circle on the bar, however they do it. So that's been cool. So, guys, I was really hyped up when I heard that Dr. Marla specializes in working with gymnasts. So this is something that I find a common theme here, which is awesome. People going after the target market that they like and that they really enjoy working with. Did you ever once think to yourself like, oh, maybe niching down is going to detract and not let me reach the full different client members that we can go after? What was your thought process there? Did it feel weird niching down?
Absolutely. And I would say you don't start that right from the beginning. You get yourself there because you never want to say no to any patient who walks through your door. So if you get too small and too narrow, then you can't really start a practice and grow. So I really did start with just young athletes of any sport, which I had a passion for in general, whether it was soccer players, volleyball players, dancers. And that ended up becoming more and more into the gymnast population of what I wanted, to where I was at the end of the day, 100% gymnast. So it did not start there, but that was always my goal and my idea. So it was started broader and then it became more niche to that level.
I like that, and so it was maybe just sports, what you were saying, like it's just like a sports doctor, et cetera. And then now it's focusing on gymnasts. Exactly. When did you notice that niching down started working? And by the way, can we go into like what you do for your audience as well, just so, people listening can follow along there?
Yeah, so I am a doctor of physical therapy, and what I do is I help the gymnasts not only with injury prevention. So I go into the gymnastics gyms and I conduct assessments to see what they're at risk for and make sure that they know their body and their weaknesses and what to do to prevent injuries in the future, but also doing physical therapy and rehabilitation and prevention whenever there is an injury on the first person they go to, make sure that they're managed correctly, that they get to the right spot if they do need surgery, and that they can get back to their sport.
That's awesome. And when did you notice that niching down was making a difference? For us, for example, we started broad, right? Everyone, we have a junkyard client, and don't get me wrong, if AT&T or T-Mobile want to come through tomorrow and pay me $1 billion, it's going to be hard saying no to that. But slowly, as I'm connecting to the community, I feel a personal joy that I can actually understand on a deeper level the pains they're going through, and all the little terms, I was talking to a client, and they talked to me about what a EHR is, and I told them what it was before they explained it. They're like, oh, okay. So what about you? When did niching down you notice that it started making a difference? Because I feel like there is maybe a little bit of a path there.
Yeah, the inflection point was I started to see a lot of gymnasts in my clinic, and they were coming to see me from all different gyms, all around different areas. And that's when I decided to reach out to the coaches and said, hey, I see a lot of your athletes, they're traveling an hour, so I'll come to your gym one day a week and I will treat all your gymnasts there. So that's probably the point of my gymnastics population ending up increasing as well, because I was able to be on site inside the gymnastics gym and treat in there and see anyone who had an injury. So it wasn't only people who could make it out to me an hour away. I was able to go there, and then I would do that with a few gyms. So I was at one gym on a Monday, one gym on a Tuesday, a different gym on a Wednesday, make sure I was in the clinic one of the days so all of them could come to me as well. And that's how I really did grow in addition.
That's super cool. And then did it take like 6 months, a year? Did it happen right away, you think, because you're already involved in the community?
It started actually only a few hours a day at this one gym where I would go from 4 o'clock on, because that was when the population of gymnasts would get to the gym. And I started there just a few hours, and then it just ended up being more people needed me. And then I ended up coming more hours, and they developed a homeschool program. So at that point I was able to come all day long because the kids were there all day long, and then just kept adding days. Then they really wanted me 2 days there. And it's really the demand. So as there are more athletes to treat, in addition to them seeing the injury prevention potential, not just the rehabilitation, I was able to increase my hours there and accommodate all of the gymnasts. And of course, then be connected to other coaches and be able to do that for other gyms.
That's really cool. The first gym, did they ask you to come in, or did you ask them? Because I'm thinking a lot of people, I don't know what for some reason I thought like fire departments or something, which is not really like treating firefighters for the doctor. I don't know if that's a viable niche. But let's say you want to treat, people that go to, gyms in terms of like, oh, well, you do gymnasts, right? But what about like, let's say bodybuilders or something, right? Would you go to like a bodybuilding facility or LA Fitness? Would you approach the organization, or how does that work, that start?
Yeah, so actually, even before I went into gymnastics gyms, I developed injury prevention assessments for all different sports, for CrossFit, for soccer players, dancers, swimmers, baseball players. And I taught people to go into those arenas, whether it was a CrossFit gym or a ballet studio, and basically taught them exactly what to say to the coaches or the athletes' parents, to educate them on why it's so important to be on site and what we can offer. Whether it was for a dance studio actually having a injury prevention class, or for a CrossFit gym doing a few injury prevention talks, and then saying, okay, we'll stay a few hours a day, and if anybody wants to sign up for one of our injury prevention assessments, we'll do that. So it really started on the path of injury prevention, really, to get in there. And then once you're in there, it's about people want to be treated, and everyone sees there's a physical therapist there or a doctor there, and then you can go ahead and start treating their patient and their caseload. And I really did tell the gyms the reason it was so important was because if somebody gets injured, they can't pay you to come to your gym. They're going to want to cancel their membership, or a gymnast can't practice their sport. And I say, if I'm here, I can tell them exactly what they can do so that they can continue coming, and tell them the few things they cannot do and make alterations so they don't cancel, they get better quicker, and they continue to go and partake in their sport.
I love that. So you really had a strong reason for the gymnasiums themselves to really have you in there and integrate you, and which sounds obvious. I mean, all this stuff, in retrospect, one of my team members was like, wow, that sounds like, why didn't we do that before? And, like, I think 2 weeks in a row he said that now. And I'm like, well, I wish, the best time to plant a tree, right, is 10 years ago, but the second best time is today. Did you think about the assessment yourself? Did you read that in a book somewhere? What inspired you to do that?
Yeah, I've been part of the USA Gymnastics system since a kid, obviously went through the elite level and all of that. And as you heard, had many injuries myself. So when I came out and I did my internship and then went on to do my residency, that's when I had to come up with a project. And my project was that I wanted to create these gymnastics specific injury prevention assessments. So I really did a lot of research on it, looked into every single thing that was out there already to create my own, to be able to pull evidence-based medicine and come up with that assessment. So that really helped me have a nice finite time to get it done and do it. And then I blew it up from there.
That's super cool. Have you ever thought about going into other niches and then broadening back out once you had the gymnastics niche covered? Or were you like, okay, I'm going to triple down on this focus because it's working and now it's going to, work more?
Right. Well, I did. So I created the other sports, the CrossFit, the swimming, the dance, and I did it for a very large company where there was people to help me, right? So there were specialists in those fields, and I basically organized them to help put the information, because I'm not the specialist in baseball. I need a specialist to help create that. So I coordinated teams of everyone who was specialists in that area, in that sport, and helped them, guided them to create them. And then through this company, we taught all different people throughout the company. They're in most states, actually, and was able to get people within their own sport doing what I do for gymnastics.
I love that. So first niche down, take over that. It's like Amazon guys, right? Like they start off with books and then they got into every category. And then what happens though, most people is they try to get into every category before they just take over books. So that's cool. And it sounded like in terms of the whole assessment thing, you were already in that environment, which obviously it makes sense that if you're not a community member of the niche you want to serve, then you're going to have to start a podcast like me or whatever and try to get into the community and learn more before you start offering services so you can understand it. That makes a lot of sense. Now, in terms of, getting the word out, did you go to social media? Was it in person, door to door? What would you recommend doctors do to kind of get the word out about their niche? And, was it just like the community you were naturally a part of?
Yeah, I found out when all the events were, the gymnastics competitions, and I volunteered and said, can I come and be your medical professional there? And most of the time they either didn't have anyone or they would have to have paid people. So they were more than happy to have me come. And I said, if you don't mind, as I'm treating everyone here at the gymnastics competition, can I please put some flyers up at the front desk when people walk in and sign in so everyone could get a flyer about what I do. And they also let me put up a table with my information and have a sign up sheet. So I really started very small, like very local competitions. Then at those competitions, I was able to meet all the coaches, was able to tell the coaches what I did and really market that way. In addition to, of course, always word of mouth, and then going through having a good presence on social media and on your website.
I love that, because one of my theories or theses on businesses is, and I might be completely wrong one day and somebody might just point to me, but this is what I truly believe is that the best business people or the best, marketing companies, et cetera, they build communities. And so you even mentioned the small communities and the small events. And so what that does is that really builds your base. And then what you're able to do is build that one-to-one interaction and really build your network out. And now, of course, everybody knows you in that niche category. And so that's a great tip for all of you guys listening out there as well. Start with the local communities near you that you relate with the most, et cetera, right? And then you can build up. And, I think in another episode, another doctor, he was talking about how he grew up with a family of farmers. So he basically volunteers at farms. And as doctors, everybody wants you to volunteer. So that's really easy, I think, foot in the door. Once you got the foot, you're set after that. That's awesome. So let's go to the social media thing now, right? So you said then you started doing some social media. Did you have a strategy about that? How's that going nowadays? Is there any specific online marketing channel you use, or do you still person to person the best?
Yeah. So another aspect of what I do is I have created a company called BetterPT, which connects patients to physical therapy clinics. And really with that, it is a way of improving access to care. I do believe that patients might be interested in your service. They just don't know about you, or they don't have the best access to get to you. And of course, with this craziness of the world and busy day-to-day tasks, sometimes it's really hard just to call your clinic or to find the number. So I do think that you need as many call to actions as possible out there in the digital world, where somebody could click a button, see your available times, and get right in and make sure they contact you without physically needing to pick up the phone during your work hours. So I do believe that's one of the best strategies, is having a really clear call to action, having a way that people can do online scheduling and telehealth and all of that to getting into you.
I love that. And We're going to do another follow-up episode, by the way, guys, so I have two podcasts. One is Vital Doc Talk for doctors. The other is Co-Founders Connect for tech co-founders and people that want to just start startups in general, where we're going to get more into BetterPT as well. So, but let's dive in a little anyways. So BetterPT, what is the number one? Because a lot of doctors anyways are trying to do telemedicine today. What would your recommendations for them be to get more clients through telemedicine while they can't go out? And while that is a slower side, that's a challenge.
Yeah, that's one of the best parts is that with telemedicine, you can reach outside your area. Like I said in the beginning, there was people driving really far distances to see me, but they could probably only do that once a week. They couldn't do that more often or once in a while. So telemedicine allows you to reach out and grasp some people that are the right fit for you, but physically can't get there. Or just maybe same thing with what's going on through this pandemic. They just aren't comfortable or safe getting to you. So really reaching out via telemedicine. Let's say you do go to a gymnastics competition and somebody lives really far and they say, oh my God, you're great. I would love to come to see you. And you say, no problem. We could do a telemedicine session. A few weeks you come out, we do it in person, we continue via telemedicine. So that is a really great extension of your arms.
Yeah, 100% agree. So let's say you had like a friend, Dr. Joe, who's maybe a PT somewhere or a chiropractor or whatever, right? And he wants to start getting more clients on telemedicine. Is there anything you'd recommend they do? Instagram posts once a day? What do you think they should do?
Definitely. I think Instagram posts, I think that writing blogs, making sure your Facebook is really built out, having that call to action on there where somebody could click a button and schedule the telemedicine. Again, really important. In addition, trying to find platforms that do coagulate doctors who are doing telemedicine, because that's where a lot of patients are searching as well. So you do want to have it out there in the digital world as much as possible, and on obviously your own website that you do offer telemedicine. And if you could somehow do SEO and SEM to come up for telemedicine, that's important as well.
I love that. Out of SEO, SEM, social media, et cetera, do you have one, or is there a platform that you like to recommend the best? What have you seen work best for you guys in terms of getting new patients?
Yeah, obviously I'm biased because I do run BetterPT, but we think that's a great platform where patients come to search for physical therapy in clinic and telemedicine. For doctors, I feel like there's a lot of people on ZocDoc utilizing that. That's one avenue as well. I think it's just also getting in your local communities and asking your local gym if they could put you on their website for easy access to care and connect with somebody on their own website as well.
I love that. We've never talked about that at all, right? Because normally I'm expecting an answer like, oh, do Facebook ads or SEO or Instagram, but you're saying, hey, there's obviously BetterPT, but also there's other platforms like ZocDoc, et cetera, that you as a doctor right now can join. And if you don't have the funds for Facebook ads or, to pay your SEO guy, whatever, they'll empower you to actually start doing that. And then later you can diversify into building out your own brand. So Marla, that's a fantastic tip for doctors out there that haven't considered it. How hard is it to sign up for something like that? Why don't you give us more info? Let's say I'm a doctor, I'm trying to build up my own practice, but also I see something like that and I want to join. What are kind of the difficulties and what are the things I should take into account?
Yeah, I think that it's, pricing, it has to have a clear ROI for you. Some people feel that the ZocDoc model has changed a little bit. It's kind of per call or per patient. I know with BetterPT, we do a monthly subscription fee. So that way you can get a ton of patients and not feel like you're paying out the wazoo. But it really is, you just have to look into it, see if it's the right fit for you, if it's the right, making sure that it's in your area, it's going well. And I recommend if there's even just any active directories you want to be on, search that and try to get yourself on there. The more presence you have on Google, the more authority you have through Google. So if you're hyperlinked back through a bunch of different sites that isn't just you, it actually brings your own website higher, and that's a nice marketing tactic.
That is what so we're an SEO agency, guys, and obviously hopefully you guys have listened to every single episode up until this one. But yeah, so here's a shameless plug, right? I wrote a book, SEO for Doctors, and yeah, the more directories you're on. So the way to explain link building and authority building, as Dr. Marla is talking about, is if you have other companies out there there are some companies that aren't known, if they point to you or they link to you, that's like a vote for Google saying, hey, check this website out, right? And then obviously the bigger, like if you can get droz.com to link to you, that counts more. And then obviously you want to have your website with the right content on there. For instance, I was talking to a chiropractor. They didn't even have their location chiropractor on their homepage, you know, and I'm like, hey, if I'm Google, how would I know? I wouldn't. Right. But yeah, those are all fantastic tips, right? Because if you think of your whole network as a directory, you can reach out to them, figure out ways to collaborate. And then if you look at other directories locally, that'll give you enough momentum to then start experimenting and find either the channel that works for you or however you want to grow your brand. So that's fantastic, Dr. Marla. If there is one tip, I was going to ask you your biggest challenge, but honestly, it sounds like you're just crushing it on all angles, which is rare. And, you know, BetterPT right now, you guys, they're going sky high because they started before coronavirus. When did you guys start?
We started about 3.5 years ago, and we do everything from technology services for PT companies to connect patients to physical therapy clinics. And we've branched out. Obviously, before Corona, we had telehealth, and we used to beg people to use our telehealth, which is kind of funny. And then all of a sudden, of course, everybody wanted to utilize the telehealth. It's a fantastic platform, and it's not only for PT. That is actually called Better Telehealth. It's for all different providers and doctors. But yeah, we've been able to really help the industry during this time because a lot of patients don't want to be sitting at your waiting room. You know, they want to get in, get treated, and get out. And we do everything else. We're kind of the vehicle to get them there and make sure digital intake forms, digital online scheduling, digital telehealth. And so you can really treat the patients being as safe and secure as possible.
Awesome. So that's Better Telehealth, right?
That's Better Telehealth. Yep. And then BetterPT is the portion for physical therapists.
That makes a lot of sense, guys. Yeah, so check out Better Telehealth. And she started 3.5 years ago. So that just goes to show kind of how the right preparation can really help you. And so I'm not going to ask her what her biggest challenge is. I guess it's convincing. It was probably 3 years ago, convincing people that this telemedicine thing is important because I know doctors can get very busy, et cetera. So, but you know, now they're.
I'll answer the biggest challenge. I've got definitely, I would say that, and this is important for all of you out there, is that a lot of people don't want to change. They think what they're doing is working. And they're like, oh no, people call me. It's cool. It's fine. And I said, you know what? You've got to think outside the box and you have to always be changing. If you're not changing and you're not doing with what is coming up, right? Your young population coming through, then you're going to end up just going out. You need to be there. You need to be in the industry with the technology. Just like we said, on all the platforms that they're on, right? Nobody's looking up anymore. They're all looking down at their phones. So really change is good. And you've got to keep an open mind.
Yeah. Look at a teenager, see what they're doing. And then think about how, you know, in 10 years or so or whatever, 5 years, probably even sooner, that's going to start impacting your world because the economy is speeding up, you know, especially the online world, right? You know, it's not crazy to say that you should check out TikTok, you know, try to make a couple posts and see what happens over there because that's how people got really big on Twitter and Instagram. They were the first movers and shakers of those platforms. So that's awesome, Dr. Marla. If you had like one tip for before I ask that closing question, because people know, what were the main challenges? I think this is also a key one we should cover while we have you on the Vital Doc Talk. What are the main challenges in being a doctor, running your own practice, but now you've done something successfully, which very few doctors have. You started like a tech company also, which is super cool, by the way, because I think there are some doctors that are thinking about or maybe are in the process of starting their own tech startup and trying to grow it. What are kind of the challenges? How did you overcome those? And hats off to you, by the way, for doing that.
Thank you. Yeah, the challenges are you end up having passions that go like this and you feel really strongly about both. You feel really strong about treating, you feel really strong about running a business and creating this new tech adventure. And how do you do both, right? So for a while, I really was doing both. I was treating, I was running this company and probably burning myself out. And it sort of is, when do you stop treating so much and then take on more of the business side and the technology side? So I always say you do have to, at some point, something has to give and potentially maybe start treating less so you can focus on your business and your technology. That's going to be up to you and your passions, but I do treat less now than I would like to. It's just not possible, but I still always want to keep it up because I do love the athletes and do love the treatment part.
So I can feel it in your words and your heart. It's like you're getting pulled in two directions, and it's like trying to fight between two children over there. Into, hey, do I blow up this, you know, telemedicine startup company? And then obviously I've got the gymnast that I want to give my time to because they're injured, etc. How do you balance your time and obviously personal life, etc.? Are there like a top focus system you use? Did you start slowly in one niche, maybe one day a week, you were like, okay, I'm going to look into this tech startup. And then now obviously the tech startup's blowing up. So, it's got to give more of your attention. How do you decide what to focus on in time management?
Yeah, it was really, for me, it was about making sure I was teaching somebody else to do what I did. So I felt okay stepping away, because it wasn't about, the money or anything of that. It was with each gymnast, is making sure that they were going to be taken care of, because I couldn't just leave and pull the Band-Aid. So it was about making sure I had a protege, somebody under me who I really felt confident that I taught, and I could walk away and knew they were doing the right care, and basically gave over the gymnast to them and said, look, like, I still want to be involved, but I need to know I have the right person who's going to see them 3 days a week, or who's going to be there for me and be my hands, yet still call me when they had questions. Because you want to make sure that they feel comfortable doing that too. So that was probably a challenge, but the most important part for me was to train others.
So that's a great answer, by the way. And I want you guys to take note of the transition Dr. Marla made, right? First, you start your business. You're like you're a solo, person, and you're doing everything. Then you start maybe getting an assistant or something, and then slowly scaling up. Now, Dr. Marla says that she just had to get to a point where she had the systems and people in place to take care of her job, which is much, much easier said than done, of course. And then now she's able to step away and start juggling both. And now from my outside point of view, and you let us know, it seems like you're more of like the visionary. You create the systems and the strategies in place. And then now you're more of like an owner, and you're able to probably multiply the impact a lot more because you're creating systems and putting people in place. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And then you can treat more people by the people treating people. So you can actually reach more that you wouldn't be able to do physically yourself.
Exactly. Right. And that's a lot of doctors, when I talk to them, it's hard for them to grasp that aspect. Maybe they just want to be a doctor, and that's perfectly fine too, by the way, if you just want to be a doctor. But if you ever want to get to the level where Dr. Marla is going, and obviously she's going to continue rising, and now she's really impacting, as cheesy as it sounds, she's impacting the world in a better way, where she's created better telehealth, and now they're just going everywhere. So she's really multiplying her time and her value. So hats off. Dr. Marla, what would be one thing that you think doctors should focus on to improve their marketing today?
I want to circle back to making sure you really do have that way of people to access you, and quick, easy access to care. Having those call to action buttons on your website, online scheduling, putting them everywhere. There's so many spots in the digital world, and maybe even, asking somebody, where else should I have this? I mean, it should be on your Google My Business. Everybody has one. There is a spot where it says request appointment. You can have your online scheduling there. It should be on your Facebook. It should be on your LinkedIn. Anywhere you come up, an easy, accessible digital way to get to you should come up as well. That way people, they see the phone number, they see the button, and they can choose what path is right for them. You just want to be able to reach out to all different types of people, and that's how you grow your population as well.
That's a fantastic answer, by the way, for the audience listening, right? There's actually a book out there, and the title says it all. It's called Don't Make Me Think, right? So you want to have it very clear for your audience, whether they're listening to a Twitter message or they're on your Instagram account, whatever, right? And hopefully you have all the bases covered. And basically, once you have them on that platform, you don't want them to think. You want them to be very clear of what you want the next step to be, right? There's a process, right? Whether it's like a 15-minute consultation to start, which most doctors do. It's like a free intro, whatever, right? You want that process to be very simple and very easy. So that's fantastic. Dr. Marla, thank you so much for your time. Now it's time for you to, plug all your stuff and tell us, where can we find you? What should we be listening to, checking out?
Absolutely. I'd say if anybody wants to reach out to me, my email is marla@betterpt.com. Whether you want to utilize telehealth or you want to be on our platform, you can also find me on LinkedIn, Marla Ranieri. And for all the gymnasts out there, that would be mranieri@betterpt.com. So any of those avenues, and if you want to put that in your in this podcast, I can definitely send those links and those emails, and please do. I'm here to help and would love to be available for anyone.
Fantastic. Thank you so much once again, Dr. Marla. This is Vlad, and that was another episode of Vital Doc Talk.